Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me once again is Mark Souza. We got Thursday Night Football to talk about, we got MVP candidates to talk about, and probably Des Bryant going to the Saints. We'll probably talk about that more, and we will get on anything else we need to get on about the world of football as of right now. So, we'll go right to Thursday Night Football. We got the Panthers and Steelers, 6-2, 5-2-1 team. Both are pretty even on paper, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm excited about this game. You look at the records, almost identical. Two really good teams, two teams that are trying to get in that conversation as Super Bowl contenders. So I am interested in seeing how it plays out. I'm interested in seeing on a short week how the Panthers will come out and play as they are the away team. It should be interesting, though. You had some stats, though, that show how close they are. Let's hear them.
Yeah, well, first one is points per game, 27.5 to 28.4 points per game.
Pretty close.
That's really close. And also, points allowed per game is even closer at 22.5 to 23.5.
Mm-hmm.
And,
big time.
like, total yards is a little different offensively, 382 to 424. But when you look at their yards allowed per game, 360.5 to 368.9.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stats that are close here.
Yeah, and yards allowed, passing yards allowed, 266.4 to 278.6. Rushing yards allowed, 94.1 and 90.3. Like, this team on paper is almost identical.
It should be an interesting game. We're looking at two teams that both can score points. Both defenses have, I think, gotten a little bit better as the year has gone on, especially Pittsburgh. They started off the year defensively really bad, really poor, but they've seemed to shore things up a little bit. Maybe because of the opponents they've played, I'm not sure, but yeah, it is a interesting game. Again, like I mentioned, we see both of these teams in their respective conferences. Maybe not the talk of their respective conference, but they're looking to stake their claim as Super Bowl contenders, so it will be interesting. What do you see on the offensive side of the ball for Carolina? Do you think we'll see a passing attack or more of a rushing game this game against Pittsburgh?
I'm going to say a lot of short passes to McCaffrey or scrambling by Cam Newton. I just see a lot of that going on. Torrey Smith for Carolina is out, and that's their speedster that goes deep. So I don't see a lot of deep balls happening for Carolina, but I do see big yards gained from short passes or runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been using other receivers in the running game too. We see Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. They've been getting carries in reverses, end arounds, and other creative plays to kind of get the running game give the running game another wrinkle rather than just running run-pass options with McCaffrey and Cam Newton. So I wonder how creative we'll see them be tonight. I feel like in recent weeks, Carolina's really opened up the offense, and maybe teams will start to recognize some of those tendencies and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see if those kind of trick plays or those jet sweep type plays will work in this game, as these defenses are now studying the film on Carolina. We're seeing every week now, it seems like, where they're running these reverses and they're getting the balls into the hands of Samuel and DJ Moore, like I mentioned. So something to keep an eye on. So you think McCaffrey will be very effective today in maybe the short passing game?
Absolutely, and he's just been playing really well and consistently, and so I see a lot from him. But I also see a big game for Cam Newton. Just he's so unpredictable with his scrambling and or passing, and I think that's going to play a major factor in this game against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm. How about Greg Olsen? Do you think that he'll be a big factor in this game as he makes his way back from injury?
I feel like he's going to be more of a red zone threat than anything else. So I'll put me in for him as red zone touchdowns if they need him there. But other than that, I see him limited.
Yeah, okay. Do you think that the Steelers will be able to pressure Cam Newton today? Maybe get him uncomfortable.
They
maybe
haven't been
sack
very
him?
good at pressuring the quarterback this season, and I think an important factor is Cam Newton is so big and strong that he's so hard to get a hold of and tackle. So this is going to be an extremely challenging game for the Steelers defense, that's for sure.
It will be. It will be a challenge for that defense. You mentioned it. Cam Newton, it's hard to prepare for him. When you are a defense and you're practicing...
When he's the size of a tight end and he's playing quarterback...
When you're in practice and you're the defense and then the scout team is running offense, who has a player like Cam Newton that can run scout team offense? You know, you just really can't prepare for it. You can't prepare for that size, that strength, and that speed at the quarterback
Those
position.
looks. I mean, what?
You know, other quarterbacks are maybe as fast as Cam. Maybe there are some that are as big. But there's really no one in the NFL that's as strong, powerful, and fast at that position and can throw the football. So it's really hard to prepare for. He does have his flaws as a quarterback, but in terms of the physical part of it, it's really hard to mimic that in practice. So on a short week, we'll see what happens. You know, Cam does have the ability to shake off defenders, but kind of a lot like his counterpart tonight, Big Ben. Big Ben is not a speedy quarterback, but he does have the ability to kind of get away from pass rushers because he's a big guy too.
Yeah, well, he's big in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of fat.
I mean,
he's not the
that's a
size.
little rude to say. You can't say that.
Why can't I say that?
He's a little fat.
Well, it's
Is
true.
he fat?
He's a little overweight. Have you seen him?
I mean, he's not Cam Newton, but I don't know.
He's overweight. Anyways, that's been a problem of his for years. And what I'm trying to say is comparing them to, they're both very different quarterbacks. One loves the pocket, one hates the pocket when you look at it. And Cam Newton is more of a dual threat than Big Ben is, and I think Big Ben has a little has just a disadvantage when it comes to facing Cam Newton because he can't run the ball like Cam does.
The Steelers have won 4 straight, and they haven't allowed more than 21 points in any of those games. So with that being said, their defense is playing very well. Their defense, as you mentioned, those stats, you can tell by just the last 4 games how they've improved in a lot of those categories because if you're not giving up a lot of points, you're not giving up a lot of yards. They kind of go hand in hand most of the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 4-game winning streak. Panthers have a 3-game winning streak. So they've been hot too. It's nice to see 2 teams coming into this game, not only with really good records, but really both teams can make a claim right now that they're 2 of the hottest teams in the NFL. So it will be an interesting match to see who comes out on top. Something's got to give here.
Yes, something's got to give. There's an epic proportion of 2 masses entering each other, and we will see who really is the best.
So on the other side of the ball,
was that a good?
Yeah, that was good.
Read? Yeah.
So on the other side of the ball,
Nailed it.
Big Ben, James Conner, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. Sometimes they use the tight ends McDonald, Jesse James. Where do you see the offense coming from today for Pittsburgh?
Honestly, James Conner. I feel like this is gonna be, if this is his last game, he's got to give everything he possibly has to make sure he keeps a starting job.
Yeah, and he's been playing at a great level. I think a level that even Steelers fans didn't really expect because he's been
Nobody,
that good.
not even his parents expected this.
Maybe his parents.
No.
My mom is really supportive of me.
My mom is too. But my dad is a realist, and I love him for that. So he tells me like what really.
So maybe moms. So maybe James Conner's mom expected it.
But his dad hopefully is like, son, I don't expect you to do great.
Oh yeah, that's what he says on the phone to him, or what?
Yeah, he's like, Dad, how'd he do? He's like, well, you could have cut the line.
He did that dad thing.
Yeah, he does. He totally does that.
So
dad thing.
when he's like, Dad, do you see my game? I had 20 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's like, yeah, but if you would have beat that one guy, you would have had a 4th touchdown, but you didn't.
That happened to me when I was playing basketball as a kid. Like one time I remember this game so vividly. I had a career high like 28 points, and I drained like 6 threes or something. I was like, when you're hot, you can't even just miss.
Like Serge Ibaka hot the other night.
Yeah, like it was one of those fluke games where I was just on fire, and
my dad feeling it.
My dad was there, and I felt so good. He's like, yeah, but you could have passed the ball a couple more times. Like you could have gotten more assists. I'm like, Dad, I had the hot hand.
You're like, Dad, I hit 27 3-pointers. Yeah. You're talking about the one that I didn't?
Yeah, he's like, you could have pump faked and went down the hole. You could have played better defense. I'm like, Dad, I love you, man, but I could have used a little
Dad, we won by 20, and I was the MVP. Like, yeah. That's definitely a dad thing.
Yeah, that's totally. But it's like, you need that from your dad.
So James Conner's dad will be the difference in tonight's game, is what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So back to reality for.
Oh, there goes gravity.
That was a nice 8 Mile reference right there. How about we look at it though? Will the Panthers secondary can be got? They can be had.
Can be got. Okay.
They can be had. Okay. They can get got, and you can get got by Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster if you're not paying attention. Do you think that we'll see these guys have a big game tonight? At least one of them to have a big game. Those are maybe the best duo in the NFL, right? Maybe the best 1-2 combo.
Yeah, but everyone has their off games, and I always have to think about, is this one of those times an off game is going to happen, or is this one of those times where they have to step it up? Because they have to step it up big time. They're facing a very talented team.
Yeah, but the secondary can be got. That's the thing. It can be had, my friend. So, with that being said, you think the Panthers will actually play well against those 2 top receivers? You think they'll maybe not shut them out? They're not going to shut them out, but like have a solid game against them. Not let them get crazy.
I feel like it's going to go down to who gets the last score.
Does Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster combine for over or under of 175 total receiving yards?
Under or over? Two, both of them?
No, total. 175 total receiving yards between both of those players.
Oh, over.
Over?
Oh, yeah.
So
that's an easy over.
Might both have 100-yard games?
Yeah. Or one has a 120-yard game. Yeah, the other one has like 60. 50. Yeah. Like usually how things work.
Over under 1 touchdown for Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown.
Over under? Over.
So how are they going to get stopped if they're going to have all these yards and touchdowns?
I said it's a very unlikely standpoint. I said it could be a fluke. I never said it was going to happen.
All right. Yeah, for me, I just think that this Carolina defense has their work cut out for them. And I do think that the Steelers have their work cut out for them as well. But I don't really like the matchup for Carolina because these 2 receivers are very, very dynamic. And I think that either they'll have huge games or they'll force Carolina to play their safeties back, which will allow James Conner to just go crazy. So James Conner might actually be the player on this offense that does lead the Steelers in production tonight. But I think it's because of those 2 receivers.
Fascinating. Continue.
Those 2 receivers, I just think they strike fear in opponents. And Juju and Antonio Brown.
Did you see Juju Smith-Schuster dress as himself for Halloween?
God, that was the best.
Like
that was the best Halloween.
Where did he get the? I'm pretty sure you have to leave your pads and the helmet and stuff at the facility. No,
I love that he has all of his stuff at home.
And do you remember when his rookie year he wore his gear to a class at USC?
Yes, I do.
I thought that was really creative.
That guy is an awesome personality.
And you know what I liked about that? No one really sat next to him. Everyone was just minding their own business, doing work. Like no one was messing all up in his grill, and I love
Juju.
That.
Oh, it's just Juju. He's one of us.
I like it when like people respect people's privacy or like space. Like usually when you see a guy like that, you're like, oh, you're gonna sit next to him in class and try to be his buddy. Like people were just real about it, and I really enjoyed that.
All right, so which one of these two teams is a Super Bowl contender, or are they both Super Bowl contenders?
Well, let me ask you an important question. Are they the Saints? Are they the Chiefs? Are they the Rams?
They are not.
Then no. No, I'm kidding. Both are very good chances of making a run in the playoffs. Like, it just, if they stay hot, they can make some noise, and I feel like this is a big possibility.
Steelers are always like a Super Bowl pick because like you look at that offense, and if you have Big Ben and you have Brown, they can always get hot at any time. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit overrated by how good they are, but I feel like they're always a popular Super Bowl pick, even though they haven't been there in quite some time. We'll see. Antonio Brown and Juju, though, what a dynamic duo. And then you got James Conner, who's just been balling out of control.
We didn't really expect to see that in the offseason.
Yeah, and that defense, if that defense can continue to be in the top half of the league as they're creeping into the top 10, I mean, then they could really be a contender. For me, I think they're more of a contender than the Panthers just because Carolina plays in the NFC. And there's teams in the NFC, not just the Rams, not just the Saints. There are good teams. You got teams like Minnesota. You got teams like Philadelphia that are right behind them. You know, even a team like Atlanta is starting to get hot right now. I mean, it's the wild NFC is basically what it looks like.
You have to face Ryan Fitzpatrick. You have to face Jameis Winston. Maybe those two are unstoppable.
Fitzpatrick, man. I mean, he scared the Panthers a little bit last week. He scared them. He
almost came back. That is true.
He came back. That game was 35-7. They got real close.
You know why they won still? Because Jameis Winston played a court over a lot of that game.
Well, not last week.
No, the other day when they were making the comeback.
No, last week Fitzpatrick played the whole game for Tampa Bay.
I thought last week he was.
No, Fitzpatrick
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick was benched. So Fitzpatrick had a rough first half, though. He kind of looked like Jameis Winston. I'll give you that. But in the second half, I
guess I got them confused because they both were throwing picks.
You know, there's only two quarterbacks that have thrown more picks than Ryan Fitzpatrick this year, and one is Jameis Winston.
Nathan Peterman?
No.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because Peterman hasn't played enough. But one is Jameis Winston, and the other one is Sam Darnold.
Okay, Sam Darnold's on a team that's going nowhere.
Yeah, he's thrown a lot lately.
Well, and Jameis Winston threw 10 picks in 4 games. I'm sorry, 10 picks in 4 games?
It wasn't even 4. It was like 3.5.
That's still absurd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's like, you're going like near 5 interceptions. That's averaging 5 interceptions a game, roughly.
So what's your pick tonight? You got Carolina. What's the score?
Carolina 31-28. Last second field goal, 66 yards
by Graham Gano.
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
By Graham Gano. Do you think it will be a last second field goal though?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
That's my bold prediction. But I'm still saying 31-28.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's a 3.5 favorite, so I mean it could go either way here. I like Pittsburgh to win 27-24, stay under the over/under 51.5 by half a point. But yeah, I could see like a last second field goal, but in my prediction, maybe Pittsburgh will get that last second field goal. Boswell kicks one, or who knows? Maybe the Panthers will get a late drive that will just come up short. Maybe Gano misses a tying field goal, or Newton gets picked off.
Gano's gonna hit a 102-yard field goal. Do you think we'll ever see a person make a 100-yard field goal?
100?
100.
I mean, if the NFL's around in like 80 years,
which it probably will be,
because there's got to be somebody that at some point is going to be able to kick like an 85-yarder, and then at some point somebody's going to be able to kick a 90-yarder, and then...
Well, like baseball's been around for over 100 years, so why can't football?
Exactly. Well, football, it's hard to say, because football, the concussion stuff maybe could be the end of football down the road if more studies come out.
Then we would be out of the job.
Yeah.
So, no, that's not ending for a while.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's other sports, though, you know?
Not like football. Except for Lingerie Football League. You
could get immersed in, like...
I feel bad for women that want to play football. They have to play in the Lingerie Football League if they want to be in, like, a televised game.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another women's...
There are other small leagues, but
like on television, national television, because every time you look at like national television, it's like the Women's Lingerie Football League. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay.
And then have you seen them play? They hit hard. They are bosses.
Sorry, Jeff. I'm not really tuned into the Lingerie Football League. I got other leagues to worry about.
You never seen like the NFL Top 10?
I mean, I've seen like some highlights, but
they knock each other's brains out. Anyways, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll be talking about MVP candidates for this year early. We probably have 3 obvious ones, but we might have some dark horses. We'll be right back right after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just finished talking about the Thursday Night Football matchup that's happening between the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now we are moving on to MVP candidates. And there's an obvious 3 we're going to talk about mainly, and you should probably already know who that is. It is Patrick Mahomes of Kansas City, Drew Brees, and Todd Gurley.
mm-hmm.
So
those are the 3 men.
Who is your pick for the MVP? Is it one of those 3?
Absolutely. It's so tight, though, when we look at it. My opinion kind of changes every couple of minutes. I feel like I look at the 3 guys in this conversation. You look at the teams that they're on. You look at how good their teams have been, and you look at their individual performances. And it's hard to say right now. I'm giving Breeze the slight edge. And I think I think there is a tiny bit to do with like his career. Like I think there's a little bit to do with him never winning it. Yeah, he's been so awesome. He's a Hall of Famer and he's never won MVP. He's played in the same era as guys like Rodgers and Brady. He never really gets like the respect that I think he deserves, even though he's a Super Bowl champion, Jeff. Do you agree with me on this? Do you think that Breeze is kind of underrated, even though he's regarded as a top 5 quarterback? In his era? I mean, not top 5 all time, but I
would put him top 5 all time.
You would?
He's the all-time leader in completions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also yards.
Does he need to win more, though? Does he need another Super Bowl win to solidify that? Because you know how it is with quarterbacks. So. You know how it is, though.
I would still put him in the top 5.
You know how people argue quarterbacks, they always say, well, you have to win. And then it's like, well, you only have one, you know? Well,
Aaron Rodgers is considered a GOAT, and he only has 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Rodgers isn't in the same conversation as Brady because he only has 1 Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah, but I still put...
you remember Manning? Manning needed that 2nd Super Bowl to, have people stop talking about him only winning 1 Super Bowl. And it's like, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, I still think that Drew Brees is top 5 all time, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Breeze is my pick for now because he's thrown 1 interception. He doesn't have the best passing touchdowns, but they run the ball a lot in the red zone. But he is the conductor to that offense. He orchestrates it beautifully. We know his offense. He throws to a lot of different guys. He really only has 1 big-time receiver, Michael Thomas. He's been doing it with Alvin Kamara. Mark Ingram was gone for the first 4 games. So it's really just been Thomas, Kamara, and a collection of average players. So for me, he's my MVP right now. Who do you have?
I also have Drew Brees.
You do?
Because he's just that darn good. I think Todd Gurley is great. Also, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes is really playing really well, but Drew Brees is just there's something about him. Oh, he's on a whole nother level.
There's a chance that he'll end up with about 35 touchdown passes and about 2 to 3 interceptions. I don't know if he'll keep it that low.
I would go less than 4.
I want to see it. I'll tell you right now. I hope it happens. I just don't. I think he'll have a bad game or two, and maybe they'll still win, but he'll have a 1 or 2 picks in those games. I think he'll end up with about 6 interceptions. But still, that's an incredible amount. That's really low. Like 6. We're talking like that would be a disappointment. Like 6 would be incredible. Okay, so if you have Breeze as your 1, who would you have at your 2 as of today?
Todd Gurley.
Okay. Tell me why you have Gurley over Mahomes right now.
Because have you seen Todd Gurley play? He sometimes carries his entire team on his back and just
I like
runs.
the pun there. He carries the entire team on. He carries.
That was no pun intended.
He carries it.
Wasn't.
They hand him the ball.
That wasn't a planned pun.
Well, I liked it. I liked your unplanned pun. Okay, so you talked about Gurley, but you just have him slightly higher than Mahomes at this point?
Yeah, I do. I just think Todd Gurley's on a team that has so much great talent, and he's the best player on that team.
Mm-hmm. He has 16 touchdowns on the season. He could break LaDainian Tomlinson's record of 31 total touchdowns. Do you think he'll get there? Or what's the number do you think he'll hit if you don't think he gets 31?
I'm going to say 27. I'm going to say he's like 1 short.
Well, 31 is what...
No, I meant like 1 short of like rushing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so 31 including receptions and running for LT. Yeah. So if Gurley gets the record, he gets MVP?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like if you break a record of that caliber, you get MVP.
It's crazy, though, because, like, what if these guys, a couple of these guys, maybe all 3 could break some record, and then one of them might not win, Like, what if Gurley had 28 touchdowns, but then he didn't get the record? Like, that would be insane, right? Like, even though he didn't break LT, but he didn't win MVP, Like, he didn't break LT's record, but he got really close, but he could still be very close and not win. Very close to the record and not win MVP.
I think there'll be more.
Insane.
I think there'll be a bias towards quarterbacks if that happened.
So,
like in 2006, when LaDainian Tomlinson broke that record, he got MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's.
Do you think if you had to pick one of these 3 players to fall off the MVP race, maybe fall a little bit behind the other 2, which one would it be?
It's gonna be one of the quarterbacks. So I'm saying Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, you're saying Mahomes.
I'm not a Mahomes hater. I'm just saying
You're an Andy Reid hater. You're not a Mahomes hater.
I'm just saying it's too this is too good to be true for an Andy Reid team to be this good still.
But when you watch them, do you get? Sometimes I watch them and I get the impression that they're only scratching the surface. To be honest with you, because the kid can make every dang throw that there is. And we haven't really even seen him utilize his legs in the running game. We've seen him utilize his legs to move around and throw the football. But don't you think at some point he's going to have a game where he has like a 75-yard touchdown run, a la Kaepernick?
Maybe. There is a possibility.
And he's got the wheels, Like he might not be that fast as Kaepernick was when he was in the NFL, but he's certainly athletic. And when you got guys like Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill, where you got to respect their speed and their ability, it might open up a big lane for Mahomes one of these games where he has a couple of rushing touchdowns, long touchdowns. So we'll see. I kind of agree with you, though. I think that Mahomes has the most risk in terms of who will be.
If he drops, people will drop him like they'll drop him so far down.
If
that's
what?
the thing.
Oh, if he starts playing poorly or what?
Yeah, if he even has like one little bad game, they'll be like, "Oh, here comes the jinx," and they won't.
So what if the Chiefs, when they play the Rams here in a couple weeks, what if Mahomes tears them up and Gurley has a decent game? Then would it flip? Maybe go back the other way.
Big possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what about Gurley? Do you think that there's a chance that as the Rams get closer to the end of the season that they reduce his workload, which might affect his MVP conversation.
Yeah. Do you remember the last time a defensive player won MVP?
Last time a defensive player won the NFL MVP, that was Lawrence Taylor?
A non-running back or quarterback, basically, because everyone is...
Ray Lewis, did he win MVP?
No, he didn't. Lawrence Taylor is the last one.
There you go, Lawrence Taylor.
It's been nothing but quarterbacks and running backs since.
So Lawrence Taylor was won 88, 89? What do you
87.
87.
No,
Okay.
86. I apologize. 86.
1986, LT won the MVP.
Ever since, it's been nothing but quarterbacks and running backs. It's been quarterbacks for 5 years straight. Adrian Peterson won it in 2012. That was the last time a non-quarterback won it. But like no wide receiver has won it, which is kind of shocking because Jerry Rice was alive.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice was a thing.
The thing is, though, is that what sucks for the wide receivers that are looking to win this award is that when a receiver has great numbers for a year, that means the quarterback did too. So then the quarterback has those numbers plus the other numbers, you know? It's kind of like, it's one of those things where the QB always gets recognition.
Yeah, it's a little unfair in my opinion.
See, like if Jerry Rice has 20 touchdowns, but his quarterback throws for 40, it's like, okay, well, he had half of them, but they always look at the quarterback.
Well, I think that's just the AP, how AP polls work. They're just kind of biased towards a certain... Associated Press is pretty biased towards the quarterback position, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's definitely a quarterback award. I think they should just rename it to Quarterback of the Year and just kind of get rid of the whole sham because, yeah, Gurley might have a chance, but look, if Gurley wins the award this year, he's going to have to, like, pretty much get close to LT's record. Like, a quarterback can win an award for just having a good year, like Brady last year. Really good year, but I wouldn't say he had a historic year by any stretch.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. There's something there. I can't put my finger on it. That's something special, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what do you say we go to a break and we come back? The last two segments, there's just a bunch of news in the NFL. We got, Saints news. Jaguars news, Patriots news, Le'Veon Bell news. I mean, we'll just talk about a multitude of things when we come back.
Any team you can think about, we got news for probably. We'll be right back right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC's football podcast. We just finished talking about MVP candidates for this season. Now let's move on to other news. Des Bryant has signed a one-year deal with the New Orleans Saints and might play on Sunday. It's unknown. Sean Payton says it's unknown whether he'll play or not, but he went from unemployed to Super Bowl contender in a matter of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, a whole offseason.
Pretty nice rebound for him.
That's as best a rebound as you could do, being on a starting lineup for a Super Bowl team and getting money.
Yeah, and while he looks at his Cowboys struggle, and it looks like a year that the Cowboys won't make the playoffs, where the Saints will absolutely be a playoff team. I think it's a good move for the Saints. I don't know if he has a whole lot left.
No, speaking of the Saints and Cowboys, signing her up, but there will be a Saints-Cowboys revenge game for Dez on week 13 of the season.
That's super interesting. What is that, like November 29th? But Very interesting. That will be fun. Is that game in Texas?
That game. I don't know. I'll double check though.
All right,
it's not till week 13, so I don't have all the deets.
So the Saints, they put Cameron Meredith on injured reserve, and we know that he signed with the Saints in the offseason. The Saints signed him to be a possession-type receiver, a big-bodied receiver.
He has lost some speed.
Well, I'm talking about Cameron Meredith. Cameron Meredith got sent to IR. He was supposed to be that
Well, yeah, getting
receiver.
injured, you lose some speed.
Well, he's injured. He's not...
Exactly my point.
Yeah, and they signed Dez Bryant, so it makes sense. They need like another type receiver. I don't know if Dez has too much left, to be honest with you.
Well, we don't know yet. We were going to find out this Sunday, hopefully, if he plays.
Yeah, he should play.
I'm saying he plays.
Yeah, he'll play. He's got to play. We saw a couple receivers get traded this last week, within the last 2 weeks, and they played their next games. I think we'll see Dez on like a 15-20 play snap count as he gets acclimated. Obviously, he needs to learn the playbook. That's going to be his toughest thing.
They play on Thursday night. That's interesting. It doesn't say where, though. I can't pull it up for some
I believe
reason.
that's the week after Thanksgiving. So the Cowboys
November 29th.
So the Cowboys play 2 Thursday games in a row.
What are you thankful for? Dez Bryant? Who are you? The Saints? I don't know. That was a terrible joke.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that. So, you think Dez Bryant is a good addition though for this team?
He's not a horrible. He can only boost them.
What if he struggles and he's a nuisance?
Then he's getting cut because they don't need that.
Yeah, I think he'll be on his best behavior. I don't think that would be an issue. Sean Payton and that organization, they keep things pretty tight there. They don't really have a lot of players like that or situations that come up like that. That game is actually in AT&T Stadium, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
is Dez going to
return.
get booed or is Dez going to get an ovation?
I think he'll get an ovation. Let's remember, the Cowboys decided to cut him.
Yes, this is the Cowboys.
And Dez turned down a deal, but it was after he got cut. It's kind of like how when Richard Sherman got let go by the Seahawks. Yes, they offered him another contract, but let's be honest, they cut him. So you allowed him
So
to
do you
leave.
take the blue pill or the red pill? The blue pill will make you go back to Dallas. The red pill will take you to the New Orleans Saints.
I'm pretty sure he took the red one then.
That's the joke.
Yeah. So
Wait, was it the other way around in Matrix? Was the red pill go back to human life, or was the blue
it's
one?
been so long since I've seen that movie. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. You ready?
Sure, I guess. I don't know what this is about, but okay.
Yes. So news out of Cleveland is John Dorsey, the general manager, will actually be the person that picks the next head coach, and it will not be owner Jimmy Haslam. So the Browns,
Wasn't Jimmy Haslam the one that hired Jackson?
Yes, he hired Hugh Jackson. He made the call. He did the interview.
So it's his fault.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's the owner. It's always his fault, right?
No, that one was mainly his fault because he hired the guy. Excuse me. He hired the guy.
Yeah. So
You got to put someone accountable for his actions. And Hugh Jackson, you can't blame Hugh Jackson all the way. You got to blame something else. You got to blame the guy that hired him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So
Is that like a cop-out,
what's that?
blaming the owner for the mistakes?
I mean, I think
Did you
Cowboys
hear what-
fans
did you
are
hear what
blaming
Hugh
the
Jackson
owner.
said? He said, give me a couple more years, I can make this into a winning team.
How many more years did he need?
I know, seriously. That's the joke.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, finally, they're doing things conventionally. The general manager should pick the coach. I mean, let's be honest with each other here. That's a step in the right direction. I don't know if they'll make the right decision, of course, but
Who would want that? I guess it's easy to take that job because they have
Bruce
so much
Arians
talent.
would want that job, and he's a good coach, I think.
Well, I'm saying they have so much talent. But it's like that front office is so, I guess you can say toxic. That why would you want to go there? Mm-hmm. You know,
Speaking of toxic,
it's a catch-22. You go there for the players, and you love the players, but also you don't want to go there because you hate the ownership.
Yes, and I kind of want to take this and transition to a big topic here. Speaking of owners and meddling and maybe doing a little too much, Troy Aikman basically called out Jerry Jones. He didn't say his name in particular, but Troy Aikman talked about the Cowboys having a lot of dysfunction and it being definitely higher up than just the head coach. Are you surprised to see Troy Aikman kind of take a shot at Jerry Jones?
I think he's tired of all the losing and all the politics because we all know that Jason Garrett has his job because he's the puppet to Jerry Jones, allegedly. Don't you think so? Like that's the only reason I think why he keeps his job, because Jerry Jones could do whatever he wants.
So this is a direct quote from Troy Aikman on AM station 1310, The Ticket. He said,
Why are you promoting other radio stations?
And I quote, "Go through the list of coaches in this team over a long period of time. Has been what it's been. It hasn't always mattered who the head coach has been. So to me, if you're asking me, I'd say there has to be a complete overhaul of the entire organization. You just can't simply replace head coaches and say, now it's going to be better. No, it's been shown that it's not better, and you have to address how everything is being done." So,
you know the guy that was bad before? Well, here's a clone of him. Let's see if this is different.
Also, a quote from Aikman. This one's very interesting, so listen closely. Quote, "And there's been times where I've heard Jerry say, okay, look, we're going to do it differently. I'm going to do it differently. But it's the same. Nothing changes. And that to me is a bigger issue beyond, yes, coaching is important, personnel and all those things are important. But how are you going about evaluating? How are you going about running the organization?"
He's not.
That's pretty, I didn't expect that. Now, Troy Aikman, I think, is a guy that speaks his mind. I don't think he's known as somebody who, won't say it like it is, but
he's mostly known for his commentary that is not liked very much.
Granted, I mean, I would say most people probably dislike his partner more than him, but
no,
yeah.
They're both pretty disliked. I mean, I'm trying to grow on Joe Buck, to be honest.
Interesting. Just you, maybe.
And Bob Menery.
Who's that?
Instagram. You look him up. He does commentary for funny instances in sports. It's really funny.
Gotcha. So, I am surprised to see that conversation though in the media. Not that I'm surprised by Aikman's comments, but it is interesting. We'll see what the Cowboys do. I think they need to do something. It starts with Jerry Jones, of course.
Fire Jerry Jones.
I want to transition to Le'Veon Bell. He was seen in Pittsburgh working out, but not at the Pittsburgh Steelers headquarters. He was in a fitness center in Pittsburgh. There's videos,
so close,
videos and photos circulating online of Le'Veon Bell working out. Do you think that he will actually play for the Steelers this year? Do you think the Steelers might just be like, hey, yes, you reported, but we're going to just send you home for the rest of the season? Do you think the Steelers might actually be like, you know what, we're good. Go home.
That would be incredibly surprising.
Yeah. So he obviously isn't playing tonight, but he has another week to report.
I'm surprised at least he wasn't on the trade block or something,
I mean, I think he was, but they weren't going to trade him for nothing or what they seem to be like really.
What do you think, like a third-round pick?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I kind of feel like some teams were in on him, but I just don't think that the Steelers were interested in trading him. Maybe they'll trade him in the offseason. Who knows?
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't see him signing with them.
Everybody says that the Steelers won't use the franchise tag to sign him because it's like $20 million this year, but I could see them signing him.
It's going to go to the point where he signs another franchise tag and it's going to be like $1 billion.
I mean, I could honestly see them giving him the tag and then trading him. I don't know if they're just going to let him walk. That will remain to be seen.
I don't know why would they waste a franchise tag just to trade him.
Well, I mean, then you don't have to pay him the full amount. You only have to pay him. You don't have to pay him only the signing bonus. Like that's it. You sign him. You keep him on the franchise tag, and then the team that acquires him can work out a long-term deal, or they can pay him that 1-year contract. So it's at this point, it would be up to the team and up to the player.
Yeah, this is a whole debacle, let's be honest.
And going back to Des Bryant, it just was reported, Sean Payton just spoke with the media, and he said, we'll see, when asked if there's a chance he could play. Sean Payton said, it'd be hard for me to comment not having had a practice yet, but we'll take a peek and see how he does today and tomorrow, and we'll fill you in on Sunday. We'll take it one day at a time.
He made a diving catch, but we ruled it incomplete.
We'll take it one day at a time and see how much he can digest and give him parts to the plan. And there's a third down element, a red zone element, and a lot of different things that he provides versatility for. Payton said Bryant was probably about 5 pounds heavier than the Saints would like. And that probably common without having gone through a training camp. So, but he did mention that there were a number of things that they liked. Yeah, that's kind of funny that Payton said that. He's about 5 pounds heavier than we would like.
Yeah, I don't want
5? Probably like 10.
16.
You know what that means. When somebody's like, hey, can you lose 5? That really means like, can you lose 10 or 15, you know?
Can you lose all of it? I'm tired of looking at you.
So,
I'm looking at you, Jamarcus Russell.
So we'll see if he plays. What do you say we go to a break? When we come back, some more news and notes around the NFL.
Sure, why not? We'll be right back right after this. Hang on tight, everybody.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. Final segment of the day. We got more football news. What football news do we have, Mark? I'm pulling it to you. Come in clutch for us.
Yeah, so Demaryius Thomas is still talking about the Denver Broncos. He had a 20-minute radio interview with former Broncos players Rod Smith and Ray Crockett. Thomas said that he was heartbroken that he was not a captain this season. He's also said he was misled by the team about his playing time as they transition to younger receivers. Of course, they drafted 2 rookie receivers, Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton, in the NFL draft. So he's still a little bit upset, a little bit salty. Vance Joseph, the coach for the Broncos.
You mean Bob Vance Refrigeration?
No, not him.
I'll be here all week.
So Vance Joseph, he just wants everybody to move on. He says that, he needs to move on. We need to move on, that they have great respect for Demaryius Thomas. What do you think about this? Did Demaryius Thomas stop talking about his time with the Broncos, at least for now?
Yes. Wait till the offseason, then get all that out of the way.
Do you feel for Demaryius Thomas? Like, do you think that he kind of has a right to be upset by how his playing time was, though? Because this year he definitely was playing behind Cortland Sutton. That's
absolutely. I think they wanted to test Cortland Sutton also, and they kind of knew where Demaryius Thomas was at the point of his career. He was at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So it's better to try out the new guys than keep going with the old dog.
Absolutely. So Nick Mullins is officially, as of yesterday, officially the starter for Monday night against the New York Giants. Do you think... Okay, first off, Nick Mullins has his first 2 NFL starts on primetime games. That's interesting.
Yeah, seriously. A Thursday night game, then a Monday night game, that's pretty good for 49ers overall because, they get extra days off.
Yeah, so... Do you expect him to have a similar showing as what he did against the Raiders last week, or do you think that he'll struggle in his second NFL start?
He's playing a team that's just as bad, so I expect him to excel.
There might be some points in that game. Two bad defenses.
Yeah, there was 34 last time. Why wouldn't there be any more this time?
Yeah, you really think that they'll score 34?
The team they're playing is not good on defense at all, actually. So
That's true.
I have confidence they would score a lot.
It will be interesting. I don't know if a quarterback's ever had his first 2 NFL starts on primetime television. Maybe it has happened, but I can't.
If we don't see it as a statistic during the game, it's not true.
Yeah. So, moving on to other injury news. AJ Bouye on Jacksonville. Of course, he plays on the opposite side as Jalen Ramsey. He's not going to play in Week 10 against the Colts. And when Jaguars coach Doug Marrone was told that he wasn't going to play, he said that his absence was news to me. How interesting is that a player tells the media he's not playing and the head coach doesn't know anything about it?
Shows how in tight he is with this team.
Doug Marrone said, I guess I'll have to talk to him about that. That's not what the trainer told me. He did say that? Okay, well, we'll take care of that. That's not been told to me by the trainer. That's the truth.
Why is he saying the trainer? Why not just say it from the teammate player himself? Why does it have to
Well, the trainer, he has been working with the training staff because he's been nicked up. So
Yeah, but shouldn't he be talking to his players still? Checking on them?
yeah, it would be interesting.
Have a heart, soul. Have a heart, sir.
Well, it is weird, though, that the player just deems himself not. But usually players want to play, right? They have to get told by the staff not no. Like, they have to be.
Yeah, true.
So, interesting. Other injury news that I find a little disappointing because he's a player that I think most of us like. I think most of us root for the guy. Darren Sproles. He aggravated his hamstring injury. It doesn't appear that he's going to make an impact for the Eagles this season, as he's missed the entire year basically with this injury. He aggravates it again as he's coming back. It is now week 10 in the NFL season. I don't know. Do you think that it's time for him to hang up the cleats?
Yeah, I mean, he has his Super Bowl ring. I know he didn't play much in the Super Bowl, but you still have that ring, and I think he should have been done a long time ago. He lost his speed 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and he's always been
that was his bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's 5'6" or so,
Yeah.
5'6", a little guy. One awesome player. I mean, he's a player that I think we'll tell our grandkids about. Like, he won't be a Hall of Famer or anything, but we'll be like, yeah, there's this guy Darren Sproles, and he was like this little bowling ball, and he was super dynamic. He made plays in special teams, made plays out of the backfield. An interesting story out of New England is the Patriots have been wearing burnt orange shorts in practice lately because apparently the players on the Patriots kept taking home their normal gray shorts. The players kept taking them home and not bringing them back, but now they have these ugly quote-unquote shorts, and it's causing players to keep the shorts at the facility. I found that a little bit interesting.
Why do you need to steal pants? You're getting a lot of your stuff for free anyways.
Yeah, maybe just because they think it looks good, and they're like, yeah, I'd like to take these home,
Kind of a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Dion Lewis, he's playing against his former team this week.
Yeah, it's another big game. I think he wants to. He's been playing a lot of dual threat. His last game was pretty good, and I hope he continues it forward. I think he wants to continue it forward, and I think he wants a good game against his Belichick and the Patriots.
Dion Lewis has been coming on strong lately for the Titans, and we saw Derrick Henry only played about 12 snaps last week. Dion Lewis played over 50 snaps. It looks like it's clearly his backfield. So we'll see if he can kind of get some revenge against the Pats. Although it sounds like the Pats will have their running back added back to the team this week, Sony Michel. He's recovering from injury, but the news is positive. They expect him to play.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what we got for football today. I think tomorrow what will be nice is we'll get to review this game tonight, this Thursday night football game. We'll get to talk about all the games that are coming up on the weekend, plus college football. We're getting down to it, Jeff. There's only a couple more weeks left in the college football season. We see these playoff rankings. Excited. We see these playoff rankings kind of taking form, and teams are dropping, teams are gaining. It's a crucial part of the season where a loss at this point in the season could really take you out of contention, even if you only have one, just because of the timing factor. So we'll take a look at those games this week and see which top teams are maybe on the verge of being upset. We know that Ian Book, quarterback of Notre Dame, he will not be playing against Florida State this week. Florida State obviously having a tough year, but it is interesting when you change your starting quarterback.
Tragic. Yeah, it really is disappointing for the kid. I mean, you always don't want someone at his age to be injured and lose opportunities like that, especially so close to the NFL season.
Sounds like he'll just miss one game, but still for their season, the change
well, I mean,
of quarterback.
just in general, it's just that's how pill to swallow is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we'll talk about all these things in more detail tomorrow.
Yes, we will see you tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.